I'm Ryan Kasprzak. I started dancing based on a coin toss, actually. So we had just moved to St. Charles, Illinois, and my mom found an ad for a free boys street dance class. And if it comes up tails, you go to the class, and if it's heads, we will never speak of it again. And sure enough, came up tails. I went and took one class. It was like, you know, sort of like, it was even before hip hop. It was when we called it street dance. When it was like, you know, the typewriter, the teacher saw something in me and like offered me a scholarship to start taking like proper classes like jazz and tap. Years later, I got into ballet, but that first class was a coin toss. And then we moved to Michigan, where my family lives now. I got really into tap dancing. I had this teacher named Jennifer Miller. I had never seen like real tap dancing, and she took me to this show. It was called the Paradise Theater Gala, and it was this old rundown theater in Detroit, and it was like Buster Brown and Van the Man Porter and Diane Walker and all these amazing old tap dancers, and I had never seen tap dancing like that. Oh, I was like probably 14 or 15, and it like changed that. That was all I wanted to do. I wanted to be in a room, like a cappella, hoofing, and then as I got older, I started looking at like Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire, and sort of that classic style, and realized, okay, this is maybe a bit more like me. I'm not gonna be Savion Glover. So then I sort of became obsessed with that style, that classic MGM style. And then a few years later, I guess I was 17, I started working with Ann Ranking and started learning Fosse style and things like that. It sort of changed everything. So then it was about like jazz dancing, and yeah, now that you mention it, like I was really lucky. I met like a lot of amazing teachers and people who saw something in me, and you know, got some really good training that way. I went to Marymount Manhattan College here in New York. I was a BFA acting major. I got really burnt out on dance when I was in high school. I went to one of those crazy competitive dance studios, and I just didn't really want to dance for a while. I wanted to be a serious actor. This woman named Elizabeth Swados formed a company with students at Marymount. We did 2 years of workshops together down at La Mama, where we would collaborate in writing our own musicals. In that process, she basically taught us how to put a show together. Like, her whole philosophy was there are like a million ways to tell one story. And so we sort of explored that. We would take one little element of story, and one day we would tell it through dance, and one day we would tell it through puppetry, and one day we would tell it through one-line jokes, and you know, and then at the end of the week we would say, oh, you know what, the best way was this way, and we would roll with that, and that's what the show became, was various elements of that sort of storytelling. So that was like really cool, because it kind of like opened my mind as to what was possible as far as creating something. I graduated college, and 6 days later I was in rehearsal for Fosse, which was amazing, and what a great opportunity. And I was really lucky because I had spent a few years at the Broadway Theater Project down in Florida, where Ann Ranking was the artistic director. So I had worked with her before, and I got to work with Gwen Burden for a couple years, which was like mind-blowing, and she was just amazing, you know. And so getting to finally do the show was awesome. I was obsessed with all things Fosse, and I did it with Nova, which was awesome. That was where we met, and we're sort of partnered together in the show. Like, we have such history together. We toured the world together. I mean, the show was amazing, but it was a non-act tour. We had no offstage swings, and we were doing one-nighters. We did like, one point we did like 14 one-nighters in a row. It was like being in the trenches. The dancers that were on that tour, we have a special bond, because it's, you know, you cut your teeth doing these things that now, as you're older, you look back and you're like, how did I do that, and how did I survive? But you know, that's the best education you'll ever get. And I remember doing the show and thinking, nothing will ever be this hard. And then I did Billy Elliot, and then I was like, oh no, there's something else that's just as hard. So I started working with this company called Parallel Exit, physical comedy theater, that does these sort of like vaudeville, slapstick comedy shows with tap dancing and everything, and they're non-text based, and I've done like 6 or 7 shows with them, 2 Drama Desk nominations. We've been all over the world, and just like being in a room with creative people, like doing creative things, and and making shows from nothing. That's what I love. I'm sort of double timing right now because they're doing a new show at the Joy Soho that opens next week called I Heart Bob, and I'm doing that show. I play Bob. Somehow I was able to make the schedule work, and I'm doing both. And then on top of that, I just started today. It's my first day as the assistant choreographer on Smash, which is awesome, but I'm like doing 3 things right now. My head is spinning. I mean, in the most pure sense, like, dance is really physical storytelling. And what I love about this project is that I think that's what Al is doing. He's finding like new ways to tell a story. It's not about dance, it's not about steps, it's not about like shapes. It's about telling these beautiful little stories like throughout this piece. And that's what really attracted me to it. And I think, not to take anything away from things that are just beautiful shapes and beautiful movement, I think there's validity to that. But for me, the dance that I'm interested in is dance that's telling a story, that's creating something. Because I think as a dancer, it's so much more fulfilling and visceral to be living out a story than it is just to be doing steps and making shapes. And I think for me as an audience member, that's what I look for too, because I feel something when I see a dancer go through a story, go through a journey. Whereas when I look at Pretty Things, I mean, I feel joy because it's beautiful, but it's not the same. And I think Al is doing that. He's creating that sort of work, which is really exciting. Like, Al and I sat down, it's probably almost a year ago now, and he was like, so I got this idea, and it's been so cool to like see it develop. Because it's funny, because like all the conversations we had were all about telling different ways to tell the story, and I forgot that there was going to be dancing in it. And it's so great to see some beautiful dancers that I have seen do amazing things, and to see them go through this process and to see them living in these characters and in this story is just awesome. It's inspiring. It's so inspiring. It's gonna be really cool. I think it's gonna be like nothing anyone else is doing in the world of dance, and not in the sense that it's better, just it's gonna be something different. It feels different from the inside. It feels different, and I think it's gonna feel different from the audience when they come and they experience it. Because I don't want to say when they come and they see it, because it's not what you see, it's what you feel in a deep place, in a visceral place. It's gonna be awesome.
And happy we'll be beyond the sea, and never again I'll go say